What are the Eagles' biggest offseason priorities at each position? We're going to figure that out next on the PHLY Eagles podcast with Zach Berman as we continue to unpack the Kevin Patullo hire. The Eagles have a new offensive coordinator. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the PHLY Eagles podcast on a beautiful, is it beautiful? It's beautiful enough. It's a Thursday. It's freezing cold outside. Zach's got his vest. I got my sweater. Zach, how you doing?
Doing well. Excited for the show.
I hope we get breaking news on the show again today.
Yeah, I was envious. Actually, someone in the comments.
Look at you picking up the comment. Ooh, don't tell Zach he can't learn on the fly.
Yes, I was envious. That's the time you want to be in the show when news happens. You get the adrenaline rushing. I know I was at home watching the show, and I get the same text alert everyone else got, and I had to jump up. I'm excited. I'm ready to get to work, and I wanted to speak about it. So yeah. It'd be great if there's breaking news. I don't know what breaking news there be other than
Quarterback's coach.
True. There was a piece of news today, we should say, and that was, according to ESPN's Adam Schefter, Cam Jurgens.
Never heard of him.
He's a terrific reporter. Underwent a back procedure on Tuesday to alleviate nerve pain. And now anyone like you who spent time around Cam.
They're going to go anyone like you who has had back pain.
No, who spent time around Cam during the playoffs knows that he was playing through it. Like his toughness is unquestioned.
Sure.
And so this is an injury, or I'm sorry, this is a procedure that will keep him out until July in time for training camp, according to Adam.
Now, do you think that changes the Eagles' outlook on extending Cam Jurgens this offseason?
No, I still think the day they're able to, they'll try to. And I'm expecting
big man with a balky back. It's a little bit dicey.
Yeah, look. Maybe they'll try to say, put your signature on the contract now because you never know, right?
But maybe there are some carve-outs for injury pullbacks.
But what I think is the next time Cam Jurgens is in an Eagles uniform, he will be one of the highest-paid centers in the NFL.
I think that's a reasonable expectation. Yeah, I mean. Shout out to Cam Jurgens. What a playoff run.
As someone who's dealt with back injuries, I guess you have more empathy for him.
I don't think I have more empathy for him. I just like when your back hurts.
Yeah.
What can you do? It's terrible. It's debilitating.
I mean, a back injury is the type of injury where everyone says like it affects everything about your life.
Sure. You've never hurt your back ever?
Well, not to the point that I needed a procedure.
Okay.
Excuse me. Not to the point that I needed a
great.
procedure. I am much better. I feel much better. I have a little frog in my throat.
You look better.
Thank you.
You look good.
That's nice of you to say. Thank you.
You don't sound great, though. I think that is true.
I feel so much better than I did 2 days ago. 2 days ago, I was a little worried. Oh, God, just coming off the Super Bowl. We got the combine, then free agency. Like, I got a lot of stuff going on in my life. I need to. I can't be sick, and fortunately, I'm not sick.
What do we think about a lot going on in your life? We gonna unpack that?
No. Just keep him busy, right?
I'm sure we're gonna. I think if we get some super chat questions about it, then maybe you'll have to address it.
Perhaps I might be cryptic.
Okay. Last night, given the fact that Rachel's in her third trimester, I was just away for like 9 days. In New Orleans, let Rachel stay in a hotel last night. Gave her the night off.
So nice.
But that's not the point. The purpose of the story.
Okay.
I mean, it is very nice of you. You're right.
Okay.
They should throw me a parade.
Yeah.
The purpose of the story is that I there's the pregnancy pillows.
Yes.
You get like the huge big thing. It looks like a huge pie symbol.
Yeah, it takes up too much space in the bed.
I don't think it takes up too much space.
Okay.
Maybe you got a small bed,
okay.
but it's a thing I've been curious about. Like, what's it gonna? So I slept with the pregnancy pillow last night. I get the appeal. I mean, the envelopment, very nice. Got a good sleep, but the top of it, not the kind of pillow texture that I'm looking for. So the actual pillow part, not my favorite.
Okay. I wish I had something more to add to it. I've never slept with that pillow.
Yeah.
I always thought it took up a lot of space, but
I mean, it's a big honker for sure.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we're gonna have to. We're going to a family wedding this weekend. We're gonna have to pack that bad boy in the car.
Yeah.
That'll take up some real estate. But
but whatever makes her comfortable, right? Like she's carrying the baby, so.
Well, yeah, dude.
Yeah. So
you don't have to sell me on that.
No, that was always my philosophy on it. So.
Yeah, that goes without saying.
Yes.
Obviously, that's why it's there. Uh-oh. Get down! Speaking of which, good reaction to the girls' name bracket from yesterday. I have the 16 boys' names here. Would you like to hear them?
I do.
Okay. Josh, Matt, Alex, Nick, Tanner, Christian, DeAndre, Reed, Elijah, Francis Jr., Francis III, Melvin, Pooh Ragu, Khalif, and Roger.
Do you want a letter? Does the letter matter?
No.
Okay. Do the syllables
I'm
matter?
leaning towards Pooh Ragu Wolf.
That would be a hard one to sell.
I don't know.
But hey, you already got Rachel the pillow, the hotel room, so maybe Pooh Ragu.
Ragu.
Yeah, Pooh Ragu.
There you go. Okay, let's get into it. Before we get to the position by position preview or priority list that we want to go through, let's talk a little bit more about your day after thoughts on Kevin Patullo. You wrote about it on allphly.com. You should become a diehard and check that out. Do you feel like there's no way for us to know whether Kevin Patullo is going to be a good offensive coordinator?
Exactly. Yes.
Do you feel like this was good process?
Well, it was the type of thing that like you and I had been hearing. It's going to be Patullo, right? And they did do a search. Like I know because names haven't been out there yet.
They say they did a search.
No. But I'm saying like because names haven't been out there yet, people think they didn't interview anybody. By rule, they have to. Now the legitimacy of those interviews,
sure,
we can debate. But by league rule, you can't announce Kevin Patullo until you interview at least 2 external candidates, right? So I am curious to see who else they spoke to. That said, I think in Patullo's case, and again, I didn't think there was a problem with Brian Johnson. There was clearly the result wasn't good. I do think Nick had a very heavy hand there. I think in Patullo's case, though, some of the differences are he has a lot of experience in the NFL, right? He's been with 5 different teams. He's been in the league for 2 decades. He's interviewed for OC jobs before. The resume itself is such that you would say this makes sense. The play calling experience, it is not there. Now, in terms of, I think there's merit to the continuity part of it. I think the Eagles need to continue to progress. I think with Patullo, one thing that I've heard is that the year with Kellen Moore, he has a lot of the Kellen Moore concepts, and so it won't just be reverting to the 2022 offense. It'll be a lot of what Kellen Moore brought to the Eagles. As we've discussed, Moore and Patullo kind of had this like football laboratory last April in terms of melding the different concepts. Ultimately, the most important person here is Jalen Hurts. And I said this on Anthony's show. This needs to be Jalen Hurts' offense, right? It can't be Kevin Patullo's offense or Nick Sirianni's offense or even the Eagles' offense. It should be Jalen Hurts' offense. And I think that because he's going to be the constant here. Like, I don't know if Kevin Patullo, maybe Kevin Patullo's a head coach in a year. Maybe it's like a Brian Johnson situation and the Eagles make a change. Jalen Hurts is going to be the quarterback here. And so I think Jalen Hurts needs to take ownership of the offense.
Yeah, shout out to Rich Hoffman in the newsletter today. It was an interesting framing. If you just go back to since 2016, every offensive coordinator they've hired, every single one they've hired externally went on to become a head coach. Every single one who was promoted internally went on to be fired.
Yeah, and I've actually I spoke to Kevin about That's a great framing by Rich. I spoke to Kevin about the guy who succeeds the head coach in Philly it's a tough history. It's a 2-person sample size here, but Mike Rowe and Brian Johnson, and his point was that's anywhere, in that it's hard to match success, right? And that
once you change the standard,
exactly,
it's hard to reach the standard that is just the height.
And that every season's different. You don't know what the personnel is going to be. You don't know what injuries are going to be. You don't know what game flow is going to be, right? Like the Eagles can say they're going to run the ball, but if they're down 2 touchdowns in games, the numbers will look different. So it's hard to compare one year to the next.
And it's different to think philosophically like, oh, I know that if Kevin Patullo has never called plays before, it's reasonable to expect that he's going to get better at it over the course of the season. It's hard to think about that in real time in September, you know, if you don't like what they did in week 2.
Yeah, but I don't agree with the idea that like Nick Sirianni has the power now. Nick Sirianni is going to call the plays.
I was going to ask you about that. Not about calling plays, but do you think that this means within the building he has developed more power?
Good question. First off, I think Kevin Patullo is well regarded in the building, and you know Kevin better than I do. You did a great story a year ago, like on his family, on him being a father. He's someone who he has relationships beyond Nick Sirianni, right? It's not as if he needs to go introduce himself to Howie Roseman or Jeffrey Lurie, right? It's why I think that's
the players,
important. The players, exactly. So that's important to note here. But I mean, clearly they felt that what the Eagles had last year, when I say they, I mean Jeffrey and Howie, no decisions made without Jeffrey and Howie. But I don't think this is Nick flexing his muscles. I know that's been the perception. I think that the Eagles want to bottle up what worked last year. I think what they're going to try to guard against is what happened in 2023.
Which is what?
Which is, there were a lot of voices in the room. I think, bless you. I think Nick was.
Thank you.
I think Nick was probably more heavy-handed than he should have been. That's why I've defended Brian Johnson on this show for that reason. I think Jalen was heavy-handed, and I still think Jalen's going to be heavy-handed. But I do think in the organization they valued that continuity. I think Jalen wanted continuity. Now, who else on the staff could it have been? Les Bowen wrote that story in training camp about. Not in training camp, at the Super Bowl, about Jeff Stoutland. And we've always kind of talked about that. I think they're comfortable with Jeff Stoutland in his current role, and they compensate him accordingly. Jason Michael has offensive coordinator experience. Aaron Moorhead, Jamal Singleton, someone who interviewed for the Saints job. But ultimately, Kevin Patullo was the next in line candidate, and he did have the most influence on the offensive product of anyone who would be in line for that job.
I have more to say, but since you mentioned Jason Michael, I think it's a possibility that he becomes the quarterback's coach. He coached quarterbacks for 2 years in Tennessee, and then went back to tight end since then.
That's a good question. Look, if he's trying to progress in his career, maybe so. No, I do think quarterback's coach is a spot where they can bring in an outside voice, right?
Actually. So listen, we have to acknowledge that the situation they're in, having to do this so late in the hiring cycle, does make it more difficult.
Yes.
And so while in theory I would have liked them to cast a super wide net and interview many different people,
yes,
there aren't that many people who are actually available, right? Most of the spots have been filled, and,
yes,
and it's harder to make that happen. The thing that you mentioned before the show started, I mean, now that all 32 offensive coordinator jobs are filled and there's not a single African-American among them, that's a pretty significant problem and speaks to the biases in the hiring process.
And how it affects the pipeline to becoming a head coach.
Exactly. And so I am curious to see when it comes out who else they interviewed. However, that doesn't mean that Kevin Patullo is not the right man for the job.
Yeah.
And they know him very well. And when you are behind the 8 ball, I can see the appeal of the continuity. Obviously, they will not have made this decision without the input of Jalen Hurts, right? Mm-hmm. However tepid his public comments may have been on locker room cleanout day. I mean, by all accounts, everything I've heard, people in the building really like Kevin Patullo. And I think the thing that we have said about framing Sirianni's heavy hand here, that if there's anyone who he's going to leave alone, because he already knows what to expect, that it's going to be done the way he wants. It's going to be Kevin Patullo, the guy who has been there every step of the way. So I think there is something to that. I would be lying. We would all be lying if we said we know that this is going to go one way or the other. But I think it is pretty good process that they landed here. I would actually say that I'm a little bit more disappointed in bringing in Parks Frazier as the replacement, only because it's just from the same tree.
Yes.
And again, I don't know how many other people they could have hired for that role, because that's not even a promotion, to offensive coordinator. But okay, we've got two people from the same tree. Now we're bringing another one from the tree. That is a little bit more questionable to me. But
now I know your story
without
too.
knowing anything about Parks Frazier, except that he was married by Frank Reich and had his home shut up on Wikipedia.
I know more about Parks Frazier than that, but I don't claim to know him well. I need to see how this whole staff comes together. I need to see who the quarterback's coach is. If there's a senior assistant, we'll see, and that will probably come out in the next. Look, if you think about Matt Patricia, we didn't find out about that until draft day, right? So, or
but he wasn't a position coach.
No, right before the draft. I'm saying, but he was the senior.
Oh, yes.
So
I do think they need to fill the quarterback.
They'll fill the quarterback's coach before then. So we'll see how this staff comes together. I am curious from your perspective. I know the story you did 2 years ago wasn't necessarily about Patullo as a coach, but what insight did you get on Kevin from your interactions?
Yeah, I was reflecting back on it last night. One thing I would say is just the attention to detail when he was flipping the switch from dad to coach with Lauren, his daughter, just about the grooves in the sand trap, stuff like that. Very obvious. This is a person who pays very close attention to detail and stuff like that, which I think is what you would have heard behind the building. I think, you know what? This is as we think about NFL coaches. You know what? I don't know if it's a red flag that he's too good of a dad.
It's not a red flag. You can be a great dad and a great coach.
Yes, of course.
Yes,
I know. But you think about this is a guy who actually likes his family, which seems to be not the case for many head coaches or potential future coaches.
We'll see how that materializes.
Huge red flag. The guy loves his family.
But
I mean, it was a great day, and it was a joy to watch them interact and him in that capacity, and also then talking to other people around the team about their perspective on it. I mean, even Jalen Hurts and Jason Kelsey had really nice things to say about Lauren.
I tweeted out yesterday, and look, the best article about Kevin Patullo was written by Bo. The best video by Kevin Patullo was by Fran. No,
we gotta work on the parallelism of the tenses in that tweet that you had.
Sorry, okay, I will work on that. I wanted to reinforce our team here at PHLY is awesome, right? And there's a lot of institutional knowledge of this team that even predates the creation of this network. So I just thought, as I was researching both guys, as I was researching Kevin Patullo, both of those pieces of content jumped out to me.
There we go. A couple super chats to check out here before we move on. Nico, just shouting it out. Love that, Nico. My man.
Pounds, too, not dollars. What's the conversion rate these days?
You tell me.
I think it's near 1-to-1, a slight uptick to the pound, but it's 1-to-1. Near.
How about pounds or pound or nucks? What do you
or actually, I was thinking of euros. What is that, pound or euro? What's that symbol there? You're the worldly one here. You're the traveler.
Musa checking in says, Sirianni, Patullo, DeSandro, Fangio. The Italian Americans have taken over the coaching staff. Shout out to Connor Orr.
Great story by Connor Orr. Yeah. You have to mention Panunzio as well in that group, as you spoke to Joe at the media night. It is interesting, and you and Jamie were talking about this yesterday, how they get confused with each other. When I say they, Kevin Patullo and Nick Sirianni, if you want to find the best Kevin Patullo photos in our wire service, you have to type in Nick Sirianni.
There's only one of actual tagged as Kevin Patullo but there are a few as Nick Sirianni,
Yes.
but you got to search through a lot of them.
So like on the story I have on allphly.com, it's Patullo and Sirianni. I'm sorry, it's Patullo and Jalen Hurts, but it comes up as Nick Sirianni. So that mistake happens. And when they came off the plane a few years ago, Patullo told me he made sure that Nick went first, right? Because he knows they get confused a lot.
MJ says €1 is equal to $1.05.
Yeah, so pretty equal, close to it.
Yeah, pretty close. Yeah. I would say.
Yes.
Okay. How else? What else is going on with you?
A lot, but all good stuff. All good
Can
stuff.
we get a super chat asking for clarification on the things that are going on in Zach's life, please? No. We will get to that just after this word from our sponsors. So Zach did do some reporting about who else the Eagles talked to for this offensive coordinator job. And word on the street is they interviewed this one guy, and it was a really weird interview. They're asking him like, "Hey man, like what would be your plan for Jalen Hurts in this offense?" And he's like, "Oh well, I think my plan is I'm gonna steal the money from Jalen, and I'm gonna get him convicted, and I'm gonna run a wing tee and steal money from the Novacare complex." And they said, "All right, you got to get out of here, Ray." And that is not the Shady Ray that we are talking about today. Instead, it's Shady Ray's sunglasses, because our friends at Shady Ray's are helping you get in the right frame of mind with their premium polarized shades that won't break the bank. Shady Ray's is an independent sunglasses company offering a world-class product rated 5 stars by over 300,000 people. Their sunglasses have durable frames and crystal clear optics, making them the perfect choice for all outdoor adventures. With so many colors available, you'll find a pair that's perfect for you. If your shades ever go missing or take an unexpected hit, don't sweat it. They have the most insane protection in all of eyewear. Every pair is backed by their lost or broken replacement program. I can vouch for this. I have taken advantage of it myself. Great deal from Shady Rays. If you don't love your shades, exchange for a new pair or return worry-free within 30 days. There's no risk when you shop. Their team always has your back with personal and fast support. PHLY viewers and listeners, go to shadyrays.com and save 35% off polarized sunglasses with code PHLY. Over 300,000 people have rated Shady Rays 5 stars, so use code PHLY today at shadyrays.com.
So it is cold outside, and if there's a problem with your heater, that's tough right now, right? You want to make sure that heater's working, and then during the summer, the air conditioner's working. And if it's not and you need to fix it, where do you turn? Well, you turn to Ace Hardware Home Services, because they have a person for that. If there's a faucet that you say you'd fix, they have a person for that. There's a leaky pipe at Ace Hardware Home Services. They're around the block with everything you need to fix it, including the person doing the fixing, from plumbing, the heating, the cooling. They have the trusted pros to keep your home humming all year long. Ace Hardware Home Services. We're bringing helpful home, the helpful you love, from the store near you, from the store now to your front door. Visit Ace Hardware Home Services online at www.acehardwarehomeservices.com to get you started on your next project.
The super chats are rolling in. Chase Daniel Plainview says Parks Frazier became the interim play caller for Jeff Saturday. Reportedly, he got to call plays because he did not request a pay bump. Is this a bad sign?
Invest in your future. Yeah, I like that. Right? If he takes on that responsibility and he does great, it's going to open up big time opportunities for his future. And here he is a few years later. He worked for the Panthers.
Wait a second. You think that worked for him?
I mean, I think it helped his profile. Sure, it gave him play calling experience.
Okay. I don't think it worked out very well. He went to the Panthers and they did a bad job. And
he got fired and he went to the Dolphins, and now he's with the Eagles. He's passing game coordinator for the Eagles.
Okay. Grace says, always happy to ask for clarification on what's going on in Zach's life, please. Was he babysitting his daughter?
I love spending time with my daughter. I have spent time with my daughter, not babysitting, but no, look, I am, there's a lot going on at work right now. We got the draft, you got free agency coming up. I'm negotiating fantasy basketball trades with John Gonzalez. And then there, look, I don't want to put the cart before the horse here, but the Eagles won the Super Bowl. I'm interested in potentially writing a book on the Super Bowl. So if one was to do that,
How would you find the time?
Well, that's the thing. You know, I had to do this interview or preparing for this interview with somebody who was like, if you had 8 more hours in your day, what hobby would you choose? And I'm thinking, like, I wouldn't choose a hobby. I would just I would invest more time in what I'm doing. But I have a very rigid schedule of like 5 a.m. to 7 a.m. I'm doing this, 7 a.m. to 8 a.m. I'm doing that, 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. I'm doing this, straight up until like 11 p.m. So but I'm trying to get my 7 hours every night.
Zach.
Yeah.
You just said you have a rigid schedule that starts at 5 a.m. and ends at 11 p.m. It's not mathematically possible to get 7 hours.
Well,
what are you talking about?
So last night I went to bed at 10. Okay. So I was able to get a few more hours there.
Okay. Gavin says clarification on the things going on in ZB's life.
It's just honestly preparing for the show, preparing for the draft, preparing for free agency. I was, preparing for. I have a list of free agents that I think are like very underrated. That I think are going to be big time signings. If you can have my guys in free agency.
Okay, how many of them are former first round picks?
None, actually.
Wow.
Yeah, none. I knew you were going to ask that question, and I actually made sure none of them. Now, there were second and third round picks on that list, but no first rounders.
Idiot Sandwich says, "I'll bite. Please spill the tea, Zach. By the way, drippy vest today."
I appreciate that. Thank you. No, look. I'm potentially working on a book, or we'll see. We'll see.
Well, Rob says, or no, I'm going to go to Gene first. Gene D'Angelo says, book deals, ZB, or something else.
Look, when the time
theoretically, if you were to write a book,
yes,
about this Eagles Super Bowl season, when would you have to theoretically finish it by?
It would have to be theoretically, it would have to be a very quick turnaround. You have to be looking at maybe like 8 weeks. So
8 weeks?
Yeah, theoretically.
How many words a day would you have to write? Just on pace.
2,000.
2,000 words a day.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And that's in addition to this show. Would you think about taking a break from this show?
I did not like it. Because
but would you consider doing that?
Oh, no. This is my job.
You have vacation days. You could use them. It is actually the Zach Berman dream to use your vacation days to work.
Yeah, but this is the timing. This is such an important time of year for the Eagles.
Well,
draft, free agency.
There are little lulls along the way.
Honestly, the time to kind of take a step back will be during the summer. We'll have to figure that out. But yeah,
by take a step back, you mean drop dead?
No, that will not happen. That will not happen.
I hope not.
Yes.
Rob says, who bleeds more for this city, Howie or ZB?
Well, Howie has trademarked it. I haven't trademarked it, but I care quite a bit about this city.
Frank says, are the ZBs expecting number 3?
No, I can assure you that I can promise you that is not happening. So, yes.
Okay. We'll unpack that on another show. Little Miss Run the Ball, Claire says, what's going on, ZB? One specific piece of news, please.
Honestly.
The Super Chats are rolling in.
Yeah. I appreciate all the support for the show. My focus since 9 a.m. this morning has been doing the best show I can today.
Does this, Zach, make you understand just a little bit that we have gotten more Super Chats about your personal life than anything Eagles related? Well, maybe that's the show that people want.
Well, you did ask for it.
Well, yeah, but I could ask for other Super Chats. I don't think we would get this many Super Chats.
Honestly,
Dinkelberg also has a Super Chat. Says, tell us more about the horse sack.
Trust me, I read every YouTube comment. I read every Apple Podcast comment. I read every message board. There's differing opinions about
what part of your rigid schedule is dedicated to that.
Yeah, probably too much time to that.
Okay.
But yeah, but there's no consensus about what people want this show to be. So what we need to do, you and I, is
the paying customers,
is have the best show we can. Have some fun, have some Eagles, or have a lot of Eagles and have a lot of fun. How about that?
I think we should tilt it on the seesaw a little bit more towards fun.
Well, the Eagles is fun for me.
Okay, let's talk about the Eagles.
Yes.
We want to go through position by position and just think about, like, what is the most important thing in Howie Roseman's mind at each position this offseason. So some of these might just be,
like continuity.
We'll get to linebacker. Linebacker will probably be about figure out what's up with Zach Baun. But there might be other ones that are a little bit more more theoretical, more big picture.
And this is what we think it should be, not what we would do.
What we think their priority, what we think Howie Roseman's priority is. Yes, essentially. So let's start a quarterback.
Yeah.
Like to me, I mean, right now it's who's going to coach the position.
Yes,
and it's kind of easy, right?
Of course.
But I think it's if you go beyond that and they get it solved, I kind of think it's like let's try to find a trading partner for Kenny Pickett. But how do you view it?
I would agree with you there. I think that they saw a lot from Tanner McKee. I think that they're always looking for value. Kenny Pickett provided value to them last year, but I think the value that Kenny Pickett can provide now is draft pick compensation. And I think Tanner McKee's ready to be the backup quarterback. I think you have 2 years of him on a cost-controlled contract. So to me, that would be that's not just you and I saying this should be the case. I think that's how Howie Roseman's going to look at it. Now, a market must generate for Pickett, but I mean,
what's reasonable? A 6th round pick?
5th round pick, I would say.
Okay.
Yeah. The value after the trade backs last year, or I'm sorry, after like the picks they got back in the deal was essentially they traded a 3rd, they got a 4th, so it was like what, like a 4th round value?
It was a 4th round.
4th round value. Yeah. So 1 year later, 1 year left on the contract. I think a late 5th, early 6th. Maybe it's the type of thing that they use Pickett to move up, right? Like Pickett and a 5 for a.
Oh yeah, I can see
like
that.
A late 3 or something like that.
Yeah,
could be that.
Okay, that makes sense. Do you have anything else at quarterback?
No, I mean Tanner McKee's continued development, right, and keep Jalen Hurts happy. I think this can be. I think Jalen Hurts will continue to be emboldened in the organization, but I think quarterbacks coach and having a resolution at backup, and if they trade Pickett, finding the number 3 quarterback. And I don't think that should be a veteran for the room. I think they should continue to add to this pipeline. They did a great job with the McKee evaluation 2 years ago, right? You give them credit there. You're not always going to find a 6th round pick who turns into that. And a matter of fact, as you've documented well, just from data in the past, chances are you're not going to find a rosterable quarterback late in the draft, like late day 3. But maybe there's
but if you hit, the surplus value is enormous.
Or a player similar to what Ian Book was or what Malik Willis was for the Packers, someone who kind of failed elsewhere, but you bring him in and you think you can develop him here.
Mm-hmm. It's probably a deeper question for another day, but on Jalen Hurts, we can have this longer conversation, but very quickly, like, how much are you weighting his Super Bowl performance as you think about him big picture versus like everything you saw the rest of the season?
Good question. I would say the late season performance, because the championship game was really good too. Yeah, sure. I certainly am weighing that as this might be bad, this might be good, but Jalen said the offense took off when he kind of had more, when he spoke up a little bit more, right? He said that at cleanout day. That's not verbatim. I'll get what it is verbatim, but I think that Jalen did improve as the year went on.
Okay. How about running back? What do you think is their top priority at running back this offseason?
I mean, I think that they'll be okay letting Gainwell go and having Shipley become the number 2. I think it'll be cost-controlled 3rd running back, like adding to that pipeline there.
I have just figuring out what is the plan to spell Saquon a little bit more next season. So maybe that is we really believe in Will Shipley and he can do some of that. Maybe it is drafting somebody in the 4th round again.
Yeah.
But I do think that they're going to enter next season hoping to take a little bit more off of Saquon's plate.
Let me ask you this. You're Howie Roseman, and Saquon Barkley's agent comes to you and says,
I'm not asking for more money. I'm not demanding more money. But if you want to lock us in, maybe move some money around to free up some cap space now to guarantee money 2 years from now, that's something we would be willing to do.
Or perhaps he says, look, when you sign this deal, it was effectively a 2-year contract. I want that 3rd year guaranteed or something of that nature. What would your response be as Howie Roseman?
I think it would be the flip side of what I said. I said if there's a way for us to move some money around to free up space now, I would consider it.
Yeah. He outperformed his contract.
Sure.
Clearly. it's also a position where.
But you're also you're entering that knowing that there's a possibility that things fall off a cliff very quickly.
And you and I both said they were not gonna preserve him. They were gonna spend 2 years like running him and using him as much as they could because it was effectively a 2-year deal. Now he's been better than anyone could have anticipated. So I just wonder if they do anything for that 3rd year.
Yeah, I'm curious about that as well. All right, let's talk tight end. This is one of the, as we talked about on Flu World Order earlier this week. And if you missed that episode, go to Tuesday's show. We ranked all the potential free agents and cap casualties in terms of how likely we think they are to return. But I think Dallas Goedert and Darius Slay are the two obvious veterans that the Eagles need to make a decision on. To me, I just have here figuring out what their Dallas Goedert plan is.
I think they're going to try to trade Goedert. Goedert's a good player when he's on the field. He does have the injury history. He is getting older, and for the price that they're paying, this is a really good tight end draft. I'm expecting them to draft a tight end regardless, right? But the question is whether they pair that tight end with somebody else or with Dallas Goedert. Dallas Goedert's expensive. Now, the Eagles can navigate the cap. There's things they could do to his deal, but it wouldn't surprise me if they look to trade Dallas Goedert.
Yeah, I think as we said on the show, I am less sure that he's not going to be here than you are. I just don't think, given the Eagles' window, this championship window, that they're going to be in the business of letting an elite player at the position go, as much as he struggles to stay on the field sometimes. Now, they're not going to keep him at that number.
Yeah.
And there's no guaranteed money. So I think this comes down to the talks between Howie and the agent about how much does he want to be back? Would he rather hit the open market?
Sure.
Or, is there a way for them to restructure it? He takes a bit of a pay cut, but you guarantee money next year. I do think that they're going to be planning. They have to find their Dallas Goedert eventual replacement this offseason. You've talked about a Kyle Pitts trade potentially. The draft
you've talked about Kyle Pitts trade.
Very.
I said I like that idea.
We've both talked about it.
Yeah.
We've talked about the how good the class is.
Yeah.
I don't think that they're going to be in a place to think, okay, let's move on from Dallas Goedert and then figure it out from there.
Agreed. There has to be a plan there. So maybe it's the type of thing where they say Tommy Tremble, who's a free agent I like, will probably be signing a 1-year deal. Maybe Tommy Tremble at a low number, paired with Mason Taylor in the draft, gives you 60% of what you're getting from Dallas Goedert, and they're okay with that if they can redistribute that money elsewhere. I think the best solution for the Eagles is keeping Goedert at a lower number.
Yes, I think that's what they would like to do.
Exactly. I think that's the best solution for them. I don't know if that's something Goedert would be as interested in. We'll see.
Yeah, that's their.
He is
the discussion to have.
He is a valuable. He would be the number one tight end on the open market if the Eagles were to release him.
No doubt. Yeah, which is why you think they will try to trade him.
Yes, or bring the number down. It would surprise me if they just flat out released him. But he does have leverage here. He could say, "Release me, and I'll get paid somewhere else."
Right. Okay. How about tackle?
Finding that swing tackle. I was going to say find Lane Johnson's eventual replacement. I think Lane could play 2 more years. I don't think they're going to be in as much of a rush for that. I do know from talking to Lane about this, Lane's having very honest communication with them. Not just about his future, but kind of like about players that he likes. But I think the swing tackle would be the spot they will look, and I think the draft is a good place for them to find it. You can't draft every position, of course, right? I can't, but...
No, and this is said to be a much worse tackle class than last year.
Definitely so. Last year was historic.
Right. I think this is to me, like, when we say priority, like, what's the first thing to do or what's the more important thing to do? I do think the most important thing that Howie Roseman is going to want to do is identify that eventual Lane Johnson replacement, and they would like it to come from the draft, but that may not be possible. Short term, figuring out who their swing tackle is, and maybe that's just bringing back Fred Johnson.
If Fred Johnson,
I don't think that they want to. I don't think that they want to move into next year not having somebody behind Lane Johnson.
Agreed.
In the young player pipeline, but the draft may not turn out that way.
Agreed.
Yeah. Okay. How about interior offensive line, and then we'll go to break after that.
Yeah, Cam Jurgens' extension, I think, is their priority here. Is ensuring that their Pro Bowl center is locked up, that he's not playing on a contract year. The Eagles act quickly here. If you remember, the first move they made last year at the start of the tampering period was what? Signing Landon Dickerson to a contract extension, right? Devontae Smith wasn't far behind. A.J. Brown, they gave him a new deal not far behind. You saw reports that Jamar Chase wants $40 million. That's why the Eagles acted quickly here. So my guess is that the Cam Jurgens extension will be the priority. Of course, a more immediate need is figuring out right guard. I think they're okay with Tyler Steen if it comes to that. I think they'll talk to Mekhi Becton. I think they like Mekhi Becton quite a bit. But it's the conversation we had. At what number? If the number becomes prohibitive, I think they'd be okay going into next year with Tyler Steen as their right guard.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think that they're okay going in with just Tyler Steen. I think they would be okay with him competing with somebody. I think if they don't bring back Becton and don't add somebody in the draft who can be, the eventual lane replacement and right guard for now, then they will sign a veteran of the Becton last year ilk. But yeah, I don't think that they're going to rush to lock up a right guard right now. I think they will sort of let the market come to them on that front. And I think that's the power of Jeff Stoutland.
Yeah. So let me ask you this. This is something that a name you might hear this offseason is Isaac Seumalo potentially being cut. You are one who has often said you don't like unimaginative moves. Would that strike you as unimaginative?
I don't think that that's crazy. And I also think as we plot out what the offseason is going to look like, if Isaac Seumalo was cut, he's more attractive to them because he's not going to count for the comp formula. Right?
Exactly.
I believe that will be a major part of their offseason. Is they're expecting, they know that Milton Williams and Josh Sweat are going to get big numbers. If Mekhi Becton goes, he will sign a qualifying number as well. They're going to try to bring back Baun, but if he doesn't come back, that's going to be a huge number as well. I don't think they're going to be signing guys who are going to cancel those out. And so if you are released, you're all of a sudden more attractive to the Eagles. And it's why I think if we're thinking of like what could be their big splash, it is much more likely to be a trade to me than the top of what is a relatively weak free agent market.
Agreed. And in the interior offense line, I would pay attention to both of Pittsburgh's guys, Isaac Seumalo and James Daniels.
James Daniels is on my radar as well.
Yeah. So he's a player too because he can play center. He could be a backup center as opposed to Landon Dickerson.
Right, and it fits the former high pick that the Eagles like. It doesn't quite fit the monster that they want at right guard. Like they do want that big, powerful guy. Yeah, he would probably be more of a backup for them.
Agreed.
Okay, let's take a quick break to hear from our sponsors, and then we'll get to the defense on the other side. Brenna, don't apologize. You know what I was thinking? Brenna, what a winner.
Oh, I like that.
How about that? Brenna the winner. You want to be a winner too? Go to Glatt Hair Restoration. Glatt Hair by Morgenstern Medical can help you with your hair issues. Their board-certified experts have performed thousands of hair and plastic surgery procedures. Each patient receives a complimentary one-on-one consultation to pinpoint the best course of treatment. You know why they're the place to go to? If you're looking to explore something on this front, this is all they do. These are the experts, and they've been doing it for like 30-plus years. These are not Johnny-come-latelys. Glatt Hair by Morgenstern Medical utilizes leading-edge treatments for prevention and restoration, such as laser light therapy, non-invasive TED treatments, vitamin supplementation, topical and oral medications, PRP, and stem cell restoration. Caring patient advocates work with you from the first phone call to the last follow-up visit. They understand that this decision can be emotional and challenging. They're here to help you make your experience simple and stress-free. Glatt Hair isn't just about restoration, it's about innovation. Their breakthrough treatments really do dramatically change lives, change your hair, change your life. Bald is now optional. Regain your confidence with Glatt Hair by Morgenstern Medical. Learn more at glatthairmctr.com. That's GLATHAIRMCTR.com.
You mentioned Brenna. Brenna's doing an outstanding job.
Brenna is a winner.
Brenna's doing an outstanding job producing the show. And you typically see her great work on the Flyers show. Big hockey game tonight, right? And if you're interested in betting on this game tonight, there's only one place to do it.
Canada.
Really? You're rooting for Canada?
I didn't say that.
Oh, okay. Well, Bet365 is the place to go. Not Canada. Bet365 is the place to go. Because whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. And you know tonight is not an ordinary game. Bet365 has 90 million users worldwide. They live stream 780,000 events each year. Early payout offers across NBA, NFL, NHL, and MLB. With the Bet365 early payout offer, you're a winner if your team in the NHL gains a 3-goal lead with an instant payout on straight bets and parlay selections marked as winners. Download the app and use code PHLY365 when you sign up. Breaking news from Bet365. New customers now get $100 in bonus bets when you bet $5 win or lose. Sign up, use the code PHLY365. Deposit $10 and place a bet for $5 to get $100 in bonus bets if your bet wins or loses. Bonus bets can be used on the spread, totals, players, props, futures, and more. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. Must be 21 or older and physically located in PA. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem and wants help, call 1-800-GAMBLER.
Oh, Canada. I mean, obviously the best national anthem.
Who's your pick tonight? You're a hockey family. Are you into this game?
No. I mean, no? I'm happy to watch it if it's on,
okay.
But I'm not planning my night around it.
Okay.
How about you?
I wasn't planning my night around it too, but I was. You
agree it's the best anthem? I mean, it's definitely the best anthem.
I like both anthems, honestly. I like "O Canada" and I like the national anthem. Yeah. They're both terrific anthems. I'm not choosing.
Clearly the best anthem.
I'm not choosing between my mother and my father. So
my home and native land.
But yeah, a lot of juice for this game tonight. What? Did I say something bad? A lot of
no.
Juice
I heard a different word than the word that you said.
A lot of juice for this game tonight. I don't know what you might have heard.
Jews.
I did not say that. I said a lot of juice for this game tonight.
Maybe both. Who's to say? I mean, there haven't been a ton of National Hockey League players of Jewish descent, but
I mean, I could give you the ones that are, but we don't need to go down that
Let's
path.
hear it.
We don't need to go down that path.
Who's the Hank Greenberg? Who's the best?
I mean,
Koufax is the best. But.
We don't need to go down this path.
Are there any Hall of Famers?
Presumably so, yeah. But I don't know the hockey.
Give me one.
I don't know the Hockey Hall of Fame as well, but you know, I don't know. I don't think we need to have this conversation. You're Googling it. You'll tell us.
Zach Hyman.
I knew that.
Quinn Hughes.
I knew that.
He's now saying, I don't know any of these players.
The Hughes brothers are awesome. They're like the talk of the sport right now.
Unfortunately, I can only name about 9 current NHL players.
Really? Yeah, I thought you're from a hockey family.
Mitchkov.
I thought you're from a hockey family.
Well, yeah, but not in the NHL. I could name more. I could name more women's college hockey players than NHL players right now, probably.
Okay. That's great. I cannot name a women's college. I can name a women's college hockey coach, not a women's college hockey player. But
Samuel Rothschild, the first Jewish player in the NHL,
okay, all right.
who played for the Montreal Maroons.
But I will say this: my
Luke Kunin. That's a tough name to say.
We have on
Here's
in our house
Jacob Chitron.
We have on in our house on Fast. We have the PHLY channel. So whenever when Emily's doing work, the background on the TV is PHLY, and so for whatever reason, it always turns up that the Flyers is on when she's on. So she sees Bill Matz and she sees Charlie O'Connor.
There you go.
So we know a lot about the Flyers, and we see outstanding production on that show as well.
Super chats continue to roll in, and I didn't ask for these, Zach. So once again, a repudiation of the Eagles-focused show. The Andy says, more on ZB's personal life. What's up, ZB? Is that Andy or Andul?
What's up? Honestly, I love doing the show.
What up?
And the combine free agency. I feel I don't feel as strong right now about the draft. Honestly, I got to catch up on the draft. I feel stronger about free agency. And then a lot's going on, outside of the Eagles too.
A Little Miss Run the Ball. Claire says, ZB, can you name, please, one Jewish hockey player? It will make my son feel good.
Zach Hyman. Jack Hughes. No, I think, this thing, I don't want to say someone is and they're not. But
what are they going to do, sue?
I actually think Kevin Shattenkirk, he was a really good defenseman.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that might be an answer.
Okay. Shout out to the Shat Man. All right. Defensive tackle, Zach. What do you think is the Eagles' number one priority this offseason at defensive tackle?
So, I mean, the challenge here is Milton Williams. I don't expect them to keep Milton Williams. Milton Williams is going to be, I think they would love to keep Milt. I think Milt's going to get maybe 20, but certainly more than 17. So I think that they might be priced out. And I think Milton Williams might want to go to a spot where he is the guy. Short of that, they need to make a decision on Jordan Davis's fifth-year option.
Very interesting.
And my inclination is to say they're not going to pick it up. What do you say?
I don't think so either. I mean, the number would be, what, like 13?
Yeah.
Something like that? Listen, Jordan Davis, at the job that he does, has been very good. And there was a conversation about this in the Discord I saw. But the truth is, he's playing 35% of the snaps.
Sure.
Like, you can't pay $13 million for a guy who's paying 35%, playing 35% of the snaps. And this is not to say that he can't take another leap. Like, defensive tackles are a position where you can see like a mid-career leap from a player. Having watched some of the player development things that happen with the Eagles over the course of this season, I think it's a good thing for us to keep in mind this offseason to like not, as Vic Fangio says, put a ceiling on a guy.
Yes.
Seeing what Nolan Smith did, seeing what Zach Baun did. Maybe Jordan Davis can turn into a pass rush force next season and be a guy who plays 60% of the snaps. But I don't think that they're gonna commit to that at $13 million. I think they're gonna keep him around.
Yeah.
And then reevaluate next offseason based on the season that he has.
I think you hit it on the head there. The other thing to add is this is a loaded defensive lineman draft, defensive tackle and edge rusher. So the Eagles could find, if you think last year was not a good one, there were D tackles taken in the second round who I think might be like round 4 guys this year, right? So I think that the Eagles, again, I want to be careful saying they'll just draft this, they'll just draft that, because you can't draft every position. But I think there's going to be a lot of value on the interior line this year. And I also think that this is why you draft and develop, is that if you can't keep Milton Williams, you have Morrow ready to step up. Thomas Booker could be taking more nose tackle snaps, right? So I think they have a pipeline.
And I also think it's a spot where you can add a veteran for $2 million or whatever, just to round out the room.
Would Javon Hargrave seem unimaginative to you if they went down that path?
Depends on the price, I guess.
Okay.
I wouldn't call it unimaginative, but I think that would probably be more than they would be willing to pay for where they are. Don't you think?
He already got his money,
yeah.
Right? So, not to say he doesn't want more of it, but
I think it's almost might be a place where it's kind of like Becton last year. Like they go in hoping to take a defensive tackle in the middle rounds, and if they don't, then there's a guy that they're ready to sign the next week.
So I saw this great interview with Trey Burton that Tyler Dunn did. Great job by Tyler. And it's an interesting way to think about free agency right now, is because Trey got cut by the Bears and he still had guaranteed money left on his deal. So any contract that he signed with the next team would be offset against so he's not making any more money. It's just offsetting, right? So the whole calculation is, does he want to play? How much does he want to play? Where does he want to play? And that's why he was ready to walk away. Frank Reich called him. He went to play for the Colts. So if there are players, and I don't know Hargrave's contract structure, but if there are players who have guaranteed money on their deal, then their decision really comes down to where they want to play, because it's going to offset the guaranteed money.
Apologies to the sickos after you mentioned Kevin Shattenkirk. I mean, I should have said he did what to Kirk? But, you live and learn. How about the edge, Zach?
By the way, I think I got Shattenkirk correct. Okay. How about the edge?
Was Kirk okay with that?
How about the edge? Look, I think this is going to be a priority position for the Eagles this offseason. Nolan Smith and J.Alex Hunt return. I think trading Bryce Huff is in the cards. They'll try to trade Bryce Huff. I just don't think it makes sense for either side.
I don't know if they're going to be able to.
Because of the price, or because you don't think a team's going to want him?
Both.
I think a team's going to take him.
It's so much dead money.
For
just
Eagles,
let him be the number 5 edge rusher or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, look, they had the whole thing with James Bradbury.
They hate the guy.
I mean, they had him inactive for the Super Bowl, right?
Yeah.
So They wanted Nicholas Morrow's special teams contributions over Bryce Huff.
Well, yeah, but they're not going to have Josh Sweat anymore, and they're probably not going to have Brandon Graham.
I get it.
Like, you need guys.
I still think they tried to trade Bryce Huff. We'll see.
I'm skeptical that it's possible. But
okay. Yeah, I mean, I think. Yeah, we'll see. But I think this is the position where, like, first or second round, it would surprise me if it's not an edge rusher. They need to continue adding to that spot. As I said, they have Smith and they have Hunt. The Eagles like to have. Now they went with 3, mostly for a good chunk of the season last year. Vic Fangio, as you asked Howie, and Howie said he's changed his opinion just like a touch, right?
Just a little bit.
Just a little bit.
And he thinks, and his explanation is the reason they were able to play those guys so many snaps is in part because they're so young.
Yes, but I imagine they are going to add an edge rusher in the draft.
Let me ask you a question.
Yes.
As you think about the draft, they're so loaded up with guys on rookie contracts on defense, and they have so many guys getting paid at the top of the market on offense. Do you think there's a chance that they try to flip that and go offense heavy at the top of the draft this year? Interesting.
So I spoke to Howie about the lack of middle class on the team, that you have the top of the league and then you have guys on rookie deals. And he said it's mainly
almost a mirror of American society, if you will.
He said it's mainly because of what they did on offense, right? And having all these high paid offense guys. And so they knew they needed to draft defense. I don't think you're going to see that tilt so much. I think there are certain positions, tight end, offensive line. But for instance, I don't think they're going to add cost controlled wide receiver like as a priority in the draft. I still think they're going to find where the value is. And I think the value this year is going to be edge rusher, and even in interior defensive line. But like, man, I mean, Fran and I are going to.
Don't you also think that it is generally the case that every time there's like described to be a historically deep draft at a certain position, the Eagles specifically don't draft that position?
Well, it's not always the case, but it worked out that way.
It's very often the case.
At defensive line in 2019, offensive tackle last year, running back in 2017.
Right.
It's a good point. You can't control the board. I just think there's going to be opportunities here. And, Fran and I are going to have some big debates about James Pierce Jr.
Are you sure it's not Pierce James Jr.?
I'm positive.
Okay. And by the way, is it Kevin Patullo or is it Pat Kevinulo?
It's Kevin Patullo.
Okay.
I saw in the Discord, someone doesn't like the way...
Discord or Datcord?
Discord. Someone doesn't like the way I say Patullo. Okay. And I was trying to
try it again.
Patullo.
That one was different than the one before.
So let me pull up the Discord here. Okay.
This is like your version of the Jalen Hurts lock screen. You have this comment as your background, as your phone background.
I do have some comments saved.
They don't like the way I say Patullo.
I do have some screenshots saved. Yeah.
Oh,
from different comments I look at as motivation sometimes.
What?
But yes. Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
Like what?
We don't need to go.
I mean, this is fascinating.
By the way, you can join our Discord by becoming a member, a diehard. We have a deal going on throughout February.
You have several screenshots of comments that you look at for motivation?
Well, from time to time,
periodically,
I want to keep because they might be lost in the nether.
Are any of them positive?
No. Here, this is definitely here. I'll let you read that from.
This is definitely a me issue, but I hate the way Patullo sounds when people say it a zillion times. So this is not a you thing, but he says ZB sounds like Patullo. Reminds me of Bill Simmons never pronouncing his L like players instead of players, like nails on a chalkboard. I wish I wasn't like this. See, this is Frank complaining about himself, not you.
He says, I mean, I don't have a lisp from what I understand. Like Patullo, I can say the L in Patullo.
Yeah, but you didn't. I will earlier. You did not. You did. It
sound like W. It sound like Patullo.
No, not Patullo. No. More just like Patullo.
Patullo.
Yeah.
Patullo. I can
do it 10 more times.
Patullo. 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 That's
Patullo.
yeah. Anyways, I will work on my pronunciation of Patullo.
Thanks to everybody for watching on Fast,
including Emily.
If you want to hear more pronunciations of Patullo, check out allphly.com. We're going to overtime for this bad boy. Okay. I do really want to learn a lot more about these screenshots that you have saved. But we'll have to wait for somebody to ask about it on a super chat.
We can save that for a quiet day this summer.
We do have a super chat from Rob who says, nickname for the defense, the Green Machine. You know what? We got a lot of new submissions for this. I think the one I like best is Fang Green, like Fangio. So you're replacing Gang with Fang. It's tough because it's not Fangio, it's Fangio. So you should Fange Green, but that obviously doesn't work. It looks better in print than when you're saying it. But I don't mind Fang Green.
I want to tell you, Rob, and our entire audience, if you go to Denver and you see a place called the Green Machine, it is not a salad restaurant, okay? I just want you to know that now. It is not a salad restaurant. I'll save that story for another day. But if you go there for lunch and you ask what they recommend, and they say the Hawaiian Haze, that's not a salad with pineapple in it, okay? I'll put it that way.
Okay. Must have been a good meal for you.
That was a quick exit. Yeah.
A quick exit. You ran out of there. Like Roger Goodell was going to see you in there or something like that. I like this from the chat. Patullo, like Cecilio. Pretty good.
Yeah, solid.
Okay. Linebacker. What do you think is the Eagles'
Zach
top priority at linebacker?
Baun is the priority, for sure.
I no doubt about it.
Yeah.
Now, I think there's a reasonable expectation that it's possible that he gets more money than the Eagles are willing to pay, and then they have to backfill. But either way, that is the priority, is trying to get him signed, and if not, figuring out how to replace him.
100%.
Now, if they don't sign him, do you think they're willing to play in a higher price point than they would have been last year, or you think they go all the way back to the typical Eagles philosophy?
Yeah.
Let's take a couple darts.
Then I think you trust Vic Fangio.
Yeah.
And a player I have my eye on this offseason is Baron Browning. I talked about him quite a bit at the trade deadline. Look, Vic Fangio scouted...
Sir Baron von Browning!
Vic Fangio scouted Baron Browning as an inside linebacker, right? When Fangio left, he was moved to the edge. It's a similar situation to Zach Baun. Now, his rookie year was not like Zach Baun's defensive player of the year candidate year. But Baron Browning is a player who I absolutely have my eye on this offseason.
Oh, I've got my eye on Baron Browning as well. Have you seen him anywhere?
What accent is that? Can you help me?
I don't know. Let's talk about cornerback. Now that we are over an hour into the show, we can address the player who was the thumbnail for this episode.
Yes.
Bye-bye Slay, ?
Yeah.
What do you think is going to happen here with Darius Slay? Obviously, the Eagles have Quinyon Mitchell and Cooper DeJean on the second year of their rookie contracts. Those guys are penned in as starters next season. They have Keely Ringo as well, who is on year 3 of his rookie contract. He's in the mix. They may bring back Isaiah Rodgers. Darius Slay will cost a lot more money. He wants to play one more season. He has given every expectation that he will not be with the team next year, but I think there is a possibility that there could be a reunion here. What do you think?
How many age 34 cornerbacks played in the NFL last year?
Well, I reckon it's just one, Zach.
None.
Oh, 34. So 33 was last year. Okay.
So 34, none. So look, Darius Slay has defied history before. I don't think there's as much a necessity. Now, look, there's always the chance that he comes back at a low number, but I think the Eagles would be just fine turning this over to Quinyon Mitchell, Cooper DeJean in the slot, and maybe on the outside in base downs, and then Keely Ringo or Isaiah Rodgers. I think that the Eagles have prepared for this. You must remember, the Eagles were prepared to allow Darius Slay to leave 2 years ago, right?
You look at me right now. You there? You must remember this.
Yes. So the Eagles were prepared to move on from Slay before Slay got his ring. He's a great Eagle. I mean, he's probably the best Eagles corner that I've covered. I didn't cover Asante Samuel.
Okay.
I know and I understand why you're partial to Asante Samuel, but Darius Slay's had an outstanding run here in Philadelphia. He wants to play one more season. I think he said while playing his on his show, or maybe the Amon-Ra St. Brown show, that the Eagles or Detroit is where he would like to play.
Oh.
I could be wrong there, but I think I saw that as I was scrolling through. So, look, I think Slay is going
A lot of
to.
people saying Stephon Gilmore played last year at 34. Turned 34 on September 19th. So maybe those ages are September 1st.
Yeah. So I went by the season. So the season age is a filter we have, and I put 34 in there. So, but yeah, I guess if you go game age, I probably should have done that. Gilmore would have qualified.
Zach INS asks, would you rather have a chef to prepare every meal for your family or have access to a private jet at any time to take you or your family anywhere?
The private jet, for sure.
Cancel him, everybody. Cancel this man.
Why?
All that energy you're using on your jet. You canceled.
I love my wife's cooking. Why am I replacing her? She can't fly. But yeah, I mean, she's out tonight for something, and she already made dinner for me. It's waiting for when I get home. It's amazing.
What is this, the 1950s?
No, she works a great job too. Yeah, but she's nuts about organization. She wants to make sure everything is
you can go out tonight as long as you make me my dinner and have it there when I'm ready to get home.
No, it's actually the opposite, Bo. I prefer if she doesn't prepare the dinner, because that means I can make something unhealthy or order something unhealthy. I can get pizza. Like, this is just a protein and a veggie, and she's nuts about healthy eating too.
Okay.
Yeah.
What's the protein?
Chicken.
Okay. What's the veggie?
Something green. Yeah, probably. Yeah.
Hopefully it's that Hawaiian haze, my man.
It's not the Hawaiian haze. No.
All right. How about safety? Let's close it out with safety.
Wait, is that really a cancelable thing, saying the private jet?
Yeah, you're done.
Your
career is over.
I know what look, I would rather a chef than I would have more utility from the chef, but I know what plane prices cost, right? If you tell me you can, like a flight to the combine next week, it's like $800.
Unbelievable. The most boring man in the world gets a private jet, and he's using it so he can go to Indianapolis for the combine for work.
Yeah, I mean, think about like the away games all the games you can go to. Anyways, safety. Honestly, they need to have a better sense of Sidney Brown by the end of next year. I don't think this is going to be a priority.
That's interesting. That's my number one as well. Is an honest evaluation of Sidney Brown.
Yeah.
Do they believe that he can be a future starter? Do they believe that he can be the number 3 safety next year? And if not, then they need to find somebody who they think can be the number 3.
I think a Blankenship extension, if they view Blankenship as a starter,
Do you think that's how they view him?
I don't know that to be the case. I mean, he's defied what I've thought in the past. I give you credit. You've been higher.
I invented him. Thank you very much. That's true.
2 years ago when I was like, I remember during training camp 2 years ago, I was like, Sidney Brown's going to be the starter. So they drafted Sidney Brown in the 3rd round. He's going to start over Reed Blankenship. It's going to be Sidney Brown and Terrell Edmonds. And I was wrong about that one, right? Blankenship was the number 1 guy. So yeah, if they view Blankenship as someone who's going to be the starter beyond the season, it would behoove them to give him a contract extension.
Grace with a super chat says, I hope your wife didn't leave you a plate of those little meats you hate.
You know what? I got more messages about support for the charcuterie take than any. I don't really put out
on your side?
Yes.
Oh, really? I got messages saying it was the worst take I've heard on a podcast ever.
No,
Brenna, Zach came out as anti-charcuterie board. How do you feel about this?
No, not anti. Overrated.
No.
Overrated.
Don't walk it back. You do this all the time. You come out strong, and then you get a little bit of feedback, and you walk it back.
No, overrated.
No. Puff your chest out. You hate charcuteries.
I don't hate. No,
you think anybody who likes a charcuterie board should be
definitely
deported.
Did not say that. But the comment from that show. Okay, so that's the Stay or Go show, correct? Okay, the most recent comment is. It's actually 2 comments ago. Zach has never been as right about anything as he was right about charcuterie boards. his was 100% correct take. I got a text. I got to respond to the text. This is from one of the 3 smartest people that I know. Okay,
so it's not Pete Vernon because he's top 2. He's usually number 1.
This is one of the 2 smartest people that I know.
Okay. So it's number 2.
No, tied for number 1. Okay,
it's not Pete Vernon. Is it Mr. Vernon?
No.
Okay, then it must be Jeffrey.
No, dude, your charcuterie board take was spot on. So much better in theory than in reality. Can't stand the process of assembling the sandwich with the cracker, the cheese, the meat, the spread, the honey, etc. Way too much of a production.
You guys are getting bad charcuterie boards. You're missing out.
My point is, give me the whole purpose of finger food is something that you can pick up with your finger and eat, right? It's not something that requires you to spread and take from this and take from that. Give me has to be something that's much easier to eat.
Are you that busy that you can't afford to take an extra 20 seconds to make yourself a nice bite? The purpose of the charcuterie board is not efficiency. The purpose is for there to be
the look. I know.
No, that's not the look.
Okay.
It's that you can keep coming back, and yes, that is part of the appeal. You can keep making different combinations.
Yeah, Emily loves making charcuterie boards. You're
gonna break her heart.
I've told her this. I say, don't do it for me.
It's the only thing you push back on.
I say, and then she always sends me out to get the specific. You need the different types of crackers, right? Maybe you need gluten-free ones. Maybe you need rosemary ones, right there. And so,
you know what? I might agree with you on the rosemary cracker.
You like that?
A little overrated.
Yeah. So, and I'm like, we can't just have one standardized cracker here. It needs to be multiple crackers. Yeah. So.
I mean, you do want variety. You don't want just one cracker.
Anyways, this is way too much time on the charcuterie board. But are people into this conversation?
Yeah. Dinkelberg, by the way, says one of the blocked out hours of Zach's day is taking screenshots of negative comments for motivation. He's just like Jalen.
It doesn't take an hour. Okay?
Is that on your schedule?
It's not on my schedule, but if I see a comment where it's not just for motivation, sometimes it's to be productive. It's to remember. Okay. But sometimes it is oh, you think this? All right, I'm going to get better in this area. Yeah.
Yeah. So is it more if it's a nasty comment or something constructive? What are you more likely to screenshot?
Something constructive.
Okay.
Yeah, for sure.
Frank says, ZB, if you ever get to Chicago, make sure you run up Wiener Circle and order the chocolate shake.
I don't know what that means, but probably gonna steer clear of that one.
I got nothing.
Yeah, if I go to Chicago, I'm going to All Cheval, and I'm getting that burger. That is the best burger.
It's a good burger.
Yeah. Get the root beer float. Yes.
Nice. What is the rest of the chat say on the charcuterie?
There was a super chat from Grace as well.
We already got that one. That was about the little meats.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
A choice is the thief of joy.
Yes.
Jaden says that Patullo comment changed ZB's soul.
We have some clever listeners.
That's really good.
For sure. Yes.
Zach's sitting at the green room talking to Bill Matz before the show. And Bill's like, "Hey man, why down?" He's like, "I mean, that Patullo comment changed my soul."
ZB's too busy reading comments to have time for charcuterie. It's not one or the other. It's not that I don't have time for charcuterie. It's there are other finger foods that I prefer.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think that Emily is gonna set herself a screen recording of you saying that her charcuterie boards are not good enough, and she's gonna use that as motivation to make better charcuterie boards to get you to.
No, because actually her charcuterie boards are outstanding. Outstanding. They look good enough. They taste good. This is the thing, though. For the amount of time that she puts into making the charcuterie board, I'm like, it's. Anyways,
what do you want? You want a handheld cheesesteak, to walk around with?
I have recommended that for parties. Like cheesesteaks is that, you get a cheesesteak, you cut it into 8s, and then you get the little slices. But no, I mean,
I do agree.
I like a dip.
Okay.
Look, there's a shrimp cocktail. Can't go wrong with that. Pigs in the blanket. It's a good one.
Okay.
Yeah.
I do agree that the way that you say finger foods does weird me out a little bit.
That weird you out?
Yeah, it's a little.
It's a little what? Isn't that the term? Appetizer, hors d'oeuvres. Hors d'oeuvres. You want to say that? What did I do wrong now? Yes.
Okay.
All right. It's a good show.
It was a good show.
Yep.
I guess that'll do it for this episode of the PHLY Eagles podcast. Zach and Fran back tomorrow.
Yes. Oh, here, real quick.
Go ahead.
Zach's
running the show tomorrow, so he needs your help.
We're doing a mailbag tomorrow. Okay. If you are a diehard, which you should be, and you go into our Discord, you leave it in the mailbag questions. That gets the priority. I will do an open call on social media for mailbag questions, but the priority is for the Discord. So if you want your question prioritized, make sure you're a diehard.
Good chance to become a diehard. I think there is a little bit of an incentive of a deal going on right now to make it worth your while. And, of course, check out the All-City store. Lots of good Super Bowl merch for the Super Bowl champion Philadelphia Eagles. Yeah, the chat is all over. Zach, what's your favorite food to finger and all that good stuff?
You guys are, jeez, take your, all right.
That'll do it.
Yes.
For this episode of the PHLY Eagles podcast. Thank you to Brenna for being a winner. And we'll see you tomorrow. As always, we love you.
We all silly like the mayor.